Welcome to FIFA Soccer Blog. I'm McHardy, the lead gameplay producer for FIFA 13.
Okay, so you've showed off a whole host of gameplay features for FIFA 13, starting with the attacking intelligence. Sort of moving on from FIFA 12, how did that come into play in FIFA 13?
Yeah, I think attacking intelligence was big for us, not just for us, but also for our consumers. In fact, it was probably the #1 point of feedback that we got from all of our consumers this year, is they wanted us to invest more in our AI, and that's exactly what we've done. So we've looked at our technology and we've re-architected the way that it works, so that players have a better understanding of how to analyze space and how to make the decision on when to go for a run. So that's done a couple of things. It means we get more decisive runs and more runs with conviction when players on your team are trying to attack.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah. And also we've given players more behaviors to be able to be smarter to work for you in attack. Things like curving runs to stay on side, curving around defenders, opening up passing channels for you to be able to put a through ball in. And we've also given the ability for players to think 2 plays ahead to try and put themselves in a better position to be able to take advantage of the next play that's likely to happen. And this is the way that real footballers in the real world think and how they've had success. And that's really improved the flow of the game and given you more opportunities to find creative chances in FIFA.
Okay, and you also worked on the push and pull aspects, which in FIFA 12, as you mentioned, was in favor of the attacker most of the time. So could you maybe explain more about that?
Yeah, we worked a lot on the effects of push and pull with our new version of the player impact engine. And what we wanted to do was try and improve the ability for players to offset that dribbler or offset the shooter using a push and a pull. So now you'll be able to push the dribbler and cause him to maybe stumble and take a poor touch, or while the player's shooting, if you give him a pull at the right time, maybe he takes an off-balance shot and it has a little bit of a different trajectory, and the consequences are a little bit greater of what you can do. Of course, we try and do things in balance here, so we want to make sure that you can go over the line, and the referee now has an opportunity to call more fouls. You can actually pull a player right down and cause him to fall over this year. So there is a line that you want to skirt with, but you got to make that decision of what's the best thing to do with the player that I have at the time. Should I use his size and strength to my benefit, or should I let this one go because I don't want to give away a foul?
Okay, and in terms of the complete dribbling as well, you mentioned you've made some changes to the dribbling in terms of you introduced the aspect you saw in FIFA Street. So what was the most interesting aspect, in choosing to introduce that in FIFA 13?
Yeah, I think looking at FIFA Street, what they did, they had a nice mechanic in street ball control. And why I think we liked it so much was it gave you the ability to have a one-to-one relationship between the left stick and where the ball moves. So as you move the left stick, the ball moves here. As you move the left stick, the ball moves exactly where you're moving it. And that felt quite rewarding to have that level of control. So we took that concept, not the exact same mechanic, but that concept, and worked it into our next iteration of precision dribbling. So that from a stand, from very low speeds, you have the ability to use just the left stick and change your mind rapidly to be able to off-put a defender, get a defender on his heel, and really take advantage of those 1v1 situations.
Okay, and you also talked about certain fundamentals you're improving on as well. Would you like to touch on those a bit as well?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we talk about, the big 5 features this year that we've put in place to create battles for possession and to deliver freedom and creativity in attack. And those are the attacking intelligence, our new version of the player impact engine, complete dribbling, first touch control, and tactical defending. And what we don't always talk about now when we have big figures on that is the fundamentals. But absolutely, unequivocally, fundamentals are near and dear to gameplay's hearts, and that's how we got where we are. Taking feedback from our fans, fixing every little niggle that they don't think is right in the game. We've taken a lot of that feedback this year. We've made changes in the referee intelligence so he has a better understanding of fouls and card situations. We've changed contained so that there's a little bit more lateral movement that gives you the ability to usher direct play the way that you want it to go. We've worked on the CPU difficulty and making the CPU AI a little bit more human in the way that he makes decisions, especially on the professional level, to make that a little bit more inviting. We've added a whole host of new animations to the game, from new celebrations, new interactions and celebrations, new shot types with 180-degree shots coming in, pressure pressure shots where you're under pressure and the player falls over, off-balance shot where you're being pulled. We've added new animations for clearances off the goal line. We've added new animations for the goalkeeper. We've worked on polishing the goalkeeper, so a lot of bugs that were there for how he handled specific situations. We've used our new tools in Wego Fantastico to address some of those. We've got new behaviors allowing you to usher the ball into play. The list goes on and on and on and on, but we definitely have not forgotten about fundamentals, because all of those little details that we take care of every year is what makes the game fun for our fans.
And during the conference, you mentioned that there's been locomotion introduced as well, which is something that the fans have been calling for a while. Maybe you'd like to explain that aspect.
I think the locomotion changes that we put in are primarily to bolster the attacking intelligence feature. I talked about curving to stay onside. It's a feature that we've actually had in the game in the past, but it was difficult to understand because the players didn't locomote in a way that made sense for what they were trying to do. You can imagine approaching an offside line and curving to stay onside. If you just turn and run to stay onside, facing forward, it looks like you're just running off into nowhere. We've added the ability for those players to keep their hips locked forward, curve to stay, running along the line, looking back at the ball, showing the dribbler where they want the ball in front of them, and giving more communication to the players. So there's been a huge focus on locomotion to help support the attacking intelligence feature. But we've also done some more and added new run styles into the game. Things that I didn't even mention in the presentation that fall into that fundamentals bucket. Adding in new sprint cycles to refresh what the locomotion looks like across the board. So a lot of work's been done on that front this year too.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned the player impact engine. I presume you guys looked at quite a few YouTube videos when you decided to improve that. I mean, you mentioned in the presentation briefly, you showed the Andy Carroll video. Was there any specific other stuff that you saw that sort of changed your mind?
Surprisingly, a lot of the YouTube videos that are out there were from the demo, and a lot of the issues that popped up were fixed before we shipped the game, and we even made some fixes in the first patch update that we did to the game. So there was a lot of work that was done to polish a lot of the issues on YouTube already, but there were still a couple of things that slipped through that we wanted to fix. The Andy Carroll moment that he had with Fabianski was one of them. The arms breaking and some of the catapult issues that we call catapult issues, where somebody stands up and somebody else goes flying off of them. And a lot of those were rooted in the fact that some of the strengths that we had in the body simulation for different joints were a little bit too strong. So we've gone back to base one and we've looked at that model to get more realistic strength values for all of the joints in the body, which gives us more realistic interactions. We don't see broken limbs, we don't see catapults, we don't see those things happening in this year's game. So we've really polished up those last few niggling issues in the impact engine.
I think you're not talking about modes here today, but what can sort of fans look forward to in terms of career mode and online stuff? Is it more just improvements on the same, or some new stuff as well?
The fans can look forward to us telling them all about that in a few months. We're actually not allowed to talk about anything outside of gameplay today, so we're sticking to those big 5 features that we put in to create battles for possession and deliver freedom and creativity and attack.
Okay, sort of last question that I had to ask is, out of you guys, David and yourself, who's the best at FIFA, do you think?
I'll always tell you I can beat David, but David might tell you otherwise. I don't know. Maybe he's not even that that outgoing. Maybe he'll tell you I can beat him too. But we got a lot of good FIFA players back at the office, and it's a pretty competitive environment. I don't think I'm the best, but I like to think I'm pretty decent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.